I have to unmute myself here. So welcome to fun here. Good morning, guys. Welcome. If you don't know me, I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their happiness after narcissistic abuse and codependency through my 3-step system, the happiness strategy. So today is a little more impromptu. It was not the topic I was going to discuss, but this morning inspired me to talk about reactivity. So let me get this shared out to the community real quick. The community is a place where you can find shelter, support, connection, community, and a witness to the journey you've been going through so that you can realize you're not crazy, you're not lost, and you're actually quite sane. The reactions you're having to the abuse and neglect that you've endured makes sense. They're irrational. So got that shared out there. Good morning, my friends. So let's talk a bit about reactivity. What on earth is reactivity? Reactivity is like a reflex. So you go to a doctor and they do those little reflex tests on your elbow or your knee and stuff, and you automatically kick. That is reactivity at the emotion. That's reactivity at the physical level. Well, you have reactivity at the emotional level. We all do. This reactivity is a byproduct of programming. Your past experience, whether it's trauma, whether it's joy, whether it's love, whatever it might be, your brain is going to react to that. And it does that because it's using a concept called object reference points, in which to tell it what to do and what to expect, what to feel, and how to behave in reaction to a scenario that's going on that it's witnessing, either within its mind or within a material reality. This is why the power of thoughts make us act as though something is real, because the brain is treating the thought as a fact, and that leads to a reaction. Now, codependency, ironically, is actually a completely reactive state. You're in a fawn freeze loop. In codependency, your brain has been put into that freeze fawn loop because of the threat of being discarded, being thrown away, being unwanted, being abandoned. And that's produced through what's called the consumer supply relationship cycle, where you're love bombed, then devalued, then discarded, and then love bombed, devalued, discarded, and round you go, and you start to feel crazy. That system teaches you to be reactive because you go into a freeze fawn loop, which means you're becoming hyper vigilant about what's going on. You're trying to anticipate what's going to happen and then respond to that anticipation. That's a reactive state because you're not tuned into you. You're tuned into the environment around you, and you're allowing that environment to dictate the actions you take. That environment includes people, places, and things, right? Events going on, things like that. Reactivity is a way to survive systems in which you have no real power in, and you feel that your brain determines it's the best option is to fawn or to please or become appealing to the threat. Okay, so reactivity is like intrinsic to the codependent paradigm. We're just reactive to trying to keep the person in our lives, to keep them loving us, so that they won't throw us away. Because who am I if I'm discarded? What is my value, right? Do I exist if they don't love me? So there's a huge amount of fear of non-existence, death, a lot of pain, isolation when it comes to the discard trauma. So I call reactivity, I lump it under this category of programming. So we all have 3 voices. So in the happiness strategy, I help you find your 3 voices and discern them from each other so they're differentiated, they're separate from each other. And that first voice we all have is programming. Then you have the voice of other people, what they're saying, what they want you to do, what they think is right for you. And then you have the voice of your true voice, your genuine voice. And that genuine voice is a byproduct, or it's ignited given life through being aligned with your innate value. The programming in another voices, programming is especially driven by false innate value, false value, which would be like shame, guilt, pressure, performance, perfectionism, things like that. Transactional value is usually what ignites that. And transactional value is also really, really anchored in other people, because you're trying to get an agreement, trying to get things to work. Well, if you're going to break the spell of reactivity in our life, we're going to really thrive beyond codependency, be happy after codependency. We've got to confront the reactivity by tuning into our true voice. And that's what happened this morning. I woke up and I was feeling calm, and I was feeling positive and open and curious. And it dawned on me, let's see what happens when I open up Facebook. So I did my routine, did my exercises and stuff, and then showered, then came in and opened Facebook. And I took a moment and just listened to how my body responded, how it reacted to this stimulus, this new change. And it was interesting because immediately my anxiety went up. Boom. Because I was at a 0. Now I'm at a 5. Immediately. Boom. I start to notice that my brain, all these thoughts of you should do this, you should do that, you should react to this, all these conflicting feelings started showing up. Anxiety, frustration, fear, judgment, appreciation, indifference, all within about 2 minutes of showing up on Facebook. I mean, really astounding how reactive my nervous system and body is to Facebook and what's going on there. So I took a little time to just scroll through the feed slower. And I noticed that my anxiety, my reactivity, the rate in which my thoughts crossed my brain slowed down. And I sped it up, and my anxiety peaked. My thoughts became much more rapid. My body was more tense. Interesting, huh? I was really witnessing how reactive I am to stimulus. So I stepped away from Facebook and I opened up Instagram. Lower anxiety. Interesting. Slowed that down. Then I got this big thought that I am a failure. It just came out of the blue. I'm a failure. I'm like, interesting. So I just observed that. I began to see, I've talked about this concept several times, how we believe our thoughts are facts. We believe our feelings are truth. I was doing that. I was having feelings of insecurity because I don't have this, or I'm not like this person, or this person's post is better than my post. All this weird judgment and comparison. I stepped back and I just observed my reactivity to it. I'm going, this is all programming. I'm literally amping myself up through this programming. So I just stepped back and observed. And immediately I went back to a 0. Back to this calm, present state. There was no judgment, no opinion, nothing about what I was observing. It was just presence. And what a beautiful place that was, because from within this calmness, I was inspired to be like, hey, let's talk about this. And there's a different energy that came with this idea. It's like, wow, I feel light, I feel curious, I feel expansive. I'm looking forward to sharing these insights with you guys so that you too can be free, a little more free of that reactivity. Hey, Laura, nice to see you. This static of my programming was tuning out my innate calmness. I was calm. I mean, despite all the things that are going on, calm. And then my reactivity, my programming is like, get scared. We don't have to, right? When we disconnect from our programming, we disconnect from our reactivity, we rapidly start to hear ourselves and know us. That's the point. See, this is where happiness comes into play after codependency, because codependency is a reactive state, trying to control external outcomes, other people's points of view, their approval or rejection of you, things like that. When we're beyond that, and we're learning and mastering our ability to be happy after that, or outside the codependent spectrum, you're going to find that there isn't a whole lot to react to. You're going to find a lot of inspiration. There's going to be a joy that guides you. And there could be even indifference to things that you used to think you should care about. You're going to find out how much programming you actually have going on, and how most of your thoughts are just the regurgitation of that programming. When you're able to identify and break that down and separate from it and go, oh, I can just observe that. You get to rest. You get to breathe. You get to be still. One of the big benefits my students report as they go through the happiness strategy and they learn these processes is stability and calm, centeredness. They're not pulled so much by what's going on around them anymore. They're more regulated. They're more centered. Because they're not believing their thoughts as facts, and they're not reacting to their feelings as though they're truth. Instead, they're just observing them for what they truly are, which are thoughts and feelings. And these things are not paired with truth. When they're not paired with facts, they're not something that is then reactive to. The brain doesn't think it's real, so it doesn't react to it based on its programming, right? You get a chance to actually hear your voice. And your voice is going to show up in 9 different ways. It's got 9 different expressions, and its intuition is one of those, peace and calm, joy, attraction or desire, repulsion. And when you start to hear that within your body and within your senses, within your awareness, and you're starting to tune into you, this is where things fundamentally change, because you start responding rather than reacting to what's going on around you. Because if I'm aligned with my joy, my innate value, and I'm looking at things on Facebook, I'm going to interpret them through that lens, which is going to bring me more awareness, typically more calm, and a lot more indifference to what's going on. I think that's a really important thing. We have the right to be indifferent. We don't have to care. Okay? So one of the 2 rights we all have is the right to occupy space, and the second right is the right not to care. When we give ourselves that second right, then we'll become free of what's called compelled empathy. We become free of what's called compelled justice and morality. We can step back and listen to what we care about in that moment, what matters to us in that second, and then choose, rather than react based on something that's more authentic for us. So how do we start doing this process? Well, lucky for you, you can start by simply observing your thoughts. And I have a thought observation tool in the Calm system, which is free. My anxiety management and reduction system is free. And in that it's a series of tools, but one of them is called the thought observation tool. And it's a very basic tool, very, very simple. And it's basically this. When you're aware of a thought, label it for what it is. Oh, I have a thought. That is just a thought. It's not a fact. It's not the truth. It's not reality. It's just a thought. And here's the bigger thing with that. Your thought is still a thought, even though it may correlate with something happening in reality. They are not the same thing. Okay? Just because your brain says the tree is there does not mean that the thought suddenly becomes a fact. That the thought and reality correlate. It's like, oh yeah, well, there is actually a tree. So my thought is pointing out something in reality. I don't still have to react to it either. Like, I can have a thought that says, look at the economy, it's really scary. Well, I don't have to react to it, because it's a thought. And yeah, there is a fact that right now the economy is kind of a scary situation, right? But I don't have to react to it, because I don't have to treat the assumptions I put on that thought as fact. Like, if the economy is scary, then the brain's like, but this could happen, and that could happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, that's blah, blah, blah. All those are thoughts. They're not reality. Because my reality is not that. My reality right now is things for me are going pretty well in comparison to what could be going on, right? when we treat thoughts for what they are and we treat emotions for what they are, we become free of that reactivity. So try out the thought observation tool, guys. It's just a thought. It's not a fact. It's not the truth. It's not reality. And notice how your body responds to that. For most people, they start feeling really calm and really centered. Laura says, you're figuring out what is genuinely worth your energy, time, space. Yes, it is real. It is something we have to slow down for. We are highly conditioned in this reactivity cycle of rapid consumption. I mean, just look how fast you scroll through your Facebook feed. Most people breeze. They just boom through their feed. They're not slowing down. They're not taking time. They're not giving themselves breaks. Look at our productivity addiction. We ought to be doing all these things all the time. I do probably 3 things for work a day. And I only have one primary focus a day. And if I get the primary focus done, I generally go play Minecraft or something. Unless I have commitments that I've made in between those times. This is important stuff, guys, because the more we slow down, the less crowded our mind is. The more space we have for our voice to show up. The more aligned we are, the more happiness we get, because we're not in that reactive state. So we've got to work on breaking free of this mind spell. And in the happiness strategy, I actually take you through a 3-step process that helps you do that, which is really cool, which includes thought observation and then what's called somatic awareness, somatic programming. It's pretty cool that way. And where we're addicted to instant gratification. We're looking for what's called a dopamine hit. Boom, boom, boom. We actually have science that shows us that Facebook, Instagram, social media by itself gives us micro hits of dopamine, serotonin, and we're hooked on that, guys. The brain is a dopamine, serotonin addict. That's what makes it feel really, really good. So, we can hack our brains to have a more healthy supply of that in ways that promote our well-being. Okay, so I encourage you to step in, take that in. Let's run with that. Let's play with that. Become free of your reactivity by observing your thoughts and your feelings for what they are. Thoughts and feelings, not truth, not facts, not reality, but something different. It's like, yeah, it's just a thought. That is just a feeling. What else is possible here for me? And then tune into the space within you that is already centered and calm. And allow that to speak to you and follow that in your actions, in your choices, your behaviors. And then observe and write down. Record the differences you start seeing in how your body feels, your happiness quotient, how happy you're becoming, how much more peace you have, more inspiration, better sleep, lower heart rate. One of my students yesterday, we were doing some evaluations on their results with the happiness strategy, and she had a high heart rate. She's probably up in the 90s from what she was indicating. She didn't give me a number, but she did tell me it dropped by 20 points. That's huge. That's a massive reduction in anxiety in the nervous system because of those processes. And one of those processes she's done is retrieve her sanity by breaking free of that reactivity. So let's give this a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Yeah, you're very welcome. Put it to use. You can get it free and calm. There's an MP3 guide. I also have it on my YouTube channel. It's just the observation tool. And you can get an audio or video guide through that process and just observe how it feels. Let it inspire you and guide you in what you do. I appreciate you guys. Love ya. Oh, and we're like a week and a half from Happiness Strategy 2.0 launching. I mean, we're plowing forward despite what's going on because, hey, there's still a future. And if you want to learn how to have stability, certainty with your future, tune into your value, voice, and vision that can create a happiness out of the mess that we're dealing with, I encourage you to take the workshop. linked above if you're on Facebook, below if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Or PM me and let's talk, okay? About the happiness strategy and how it can change your life from codependent to happy, where you can find that freedom, being you again, being centered, knowing what you want, how to say no, all those things. You can discern yourself from other people, be happy again. So we're starting on that on the 20th. Definitely take the master class and jump in. I've got some special pricing options going on right now in response to coronavirus, and giving you guys a chance to jump in, really change your life, because that's what it's been doing. I've got one client reported to me on Monday. They have a new relationship that's different than what they've experienced previously. It's still new, so we're going to see what it looks like long term, but they feel calm and centered and anchored in them for the first time. Just imagine that. Or they're not scared of losing the person. They're more interested in who they are and how they align with their own values. That's a big change. Other clients are reporting more peace, calmness, lack of fear of being themselves. They feel confident. That's a big deal. And that's what you get with happiness strategy in that 13-week process or 13-week training. I teach you how to know your value, voice, and visions. Check that out through the workshop. Appreciate you guys. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.